They are an ethnic minority forced into exile, sometimes to the other side of the world. The Hmong people, originally from Indochina, settled on the borders of China, Vietnam and Laos, where many were converted to Christianity at the end of the 19th century by French missionaries. When the Indochina War broke out in 1946, some of them even fought alongside French forces. They then went on to fight alongside the Americans during the Vietnam War. So when the communists took power on the peninsula in 1975, the Hmong were considered traitors. Several 100,000 of them forced to flee Vietnam and Laos to seek refuge in Thailand. And the UN recognised them as refugees, and Western countries, notably France and the US, offered to take some of them in. For 1,000 of them, though, their destination was to be French Guiana in South America. The government had just launched a huge plan to develop the territory, and it was thought the Hmong people would be able to adapt easily enough to the harsh climate. The first of them landed in September 1977. They were led by the army to the site of a former prison deep in the Amazon rainforest, only its name welcoming, Cacao. They had to start from scratch, but the settlers proved to be outstanding farmers. So 40 years on, have the Hmong refugees integrated successfully? What role do they play in local society, and what remains of their culture and of their traditions? Well, Pierre Varou revisits Cacao for France 24.
To find the village of Cacao, you have to go deep into the Amazonian rainforest. A 100-kilometre trip from the capital Cayenne, deep into the jungle. Cacao is now well known in French Guiana, but not so long ago, before the arrival of Hmong exiles from Laos, there was nothing here. The Hmong built everything, all the roads, homes and schools. Their hard work over 40 years, along with their mastery of agriculture, have helped them to settle and tame the jungle here. Their farming efforts have made them the leading producers of fruit and vegetables in this French department on the other side of the world. Like almost every day for more than 40 years, Joseph is out taking care of his crops. When he arrived in Cacao, he was just a child. His parents fled the Vietnam War, leaving their lives behind them.
Ici, on a trouvé notre terre donc la Guyane française. Et là, en tant qu'agriculteur, on ne peut espérer de mieux. C'est là que j'ai vécu, c'est là que j'ai sué, c'est là que j'ai travaillé ici. Je crois que ma vie, c'est la Guyane.
Joseph grew up between the nuns' schoolyard where he learned French and the fields where he helped his parents. They had to clear the forest tree by tree using only their hands. Then they had to experiment to find out what grew in French Guiana's clay soil.
Au début, le but c'est de cultiver du riz et après, une fois là, on commence à planter des légumes, des fruitiers, tout ça. Et à partir de là, on fait tous ces cultures-là. C'était très très dur, mais comment dire, c'est notre métier, quelle que soit la dureté du travail, on est obligé d'aller en avant.
His parents too old to work in the fields, Joseph has now taken over and helped the family plot to grow. Today he owns several dozen hectares, selling his products in markets as far away as Cayenne. This morning it's market day in Cacao, the first after long months of closure due to the global health crisis. It's 4 a.m. and Joseph's mother is already up. The Hmong live and work as a family. During the week, the younger ones go to school. During holidays and weekends, they help their parents in the fields and at the market. The days are often very busy.
Ici, à Cacao, c'est à cette heure-ci, mais ici, c'est pour à Cayenne. C'est vers 1h du matin qu'il faut faire la route pour pouvoir vendre vers 5h du matin. Donc, l'installation, arriver là-bas, l'installation et vendre et tout. Donc, C'est 2 fois par semaine comme ça. Voilà, on va bientôt en arriver à bout là.
Vậy bây nhỏ to trong hộp bì chị nó đi giờ có thể mình sẽ sống sự chị giờ mong chị sợ do tem nhờ sợ do sợ đi tem nhờ sợ đi chị bá dụ nó hầu liên nó đó hai liên nó tôi nay bao nay lần từ bỏ nó bao phải tiệp bây giờ phải nắng chén này lâu phải nắng chén nó đó hai liên nó xưa.
The Hmong only represent 2% of the Guyanese population, but produce almost 70% of all the fruit and vegetable needs of the territory. They started to sell their wares in Guyanese markets in the 1980s. Cabbage, beans, rambutans, chilies, and other Asian produce soon found their way onto local tables.
Ils font vivre la Guyane. Avec leurs plantations, avec leurs légumes, ce qui reste très important pour nous.
Il y a la soupe aussi qui est réputée ici.
Oh yes? Why?
Eh bien, parce qu'elle a la particularité, les Hmong ont une façon de faire la soupe qui est singulière.
Cacao has now become a leading tourist attraction due to its landscape and its must-see market. Through their agriculture, it appears as though the Hmong have successfully integrated themselves into French Guiana and its multi-ethnic culture. For the younger generations born in French Guiana, assimilation shouldn't end at a market stall. Claire has decided to get involved in politics for the municipal elections. This 30-year-old never dreamed of becoming a farmer, but chose to return here after studying sports coaching in Cayenne.
Ça fait un moment que la population elle demande vraiment des gens qui sont motivés. Et ici, je ne dirais pas que je ne suis pas connue non plus, mais je suis quand même une jeune assez dynamique et les jeunes m'aiment bien. Alors je me suis dit que peut-être que voilà, ça peut être le feeling entre la population et moi, et avec mon âge aussi.
In Cacao, the unemployment rate is low at 10%, but opportunities are rare. Most young Hmongs who live there abide by the rhythm of agriculture. Others work in the emergency services or as teachers, or have left the village. Claire has seen many of her contemporaries move to Cayenne or other cities over the past few years. She says she's aware that her village and its prospects no longer really correspond to the expectations of modern, westernized young people.
Vraiment, j'aimerais qu'il y ait des choses qui puissent se faire ici pour nous les jeunes, quoi. Parce que moi, je dirais pas que je m'ennuie, hein, je m'ennuie pas du tout, hein, mais voilà, ça permettra aux jeunes de se développer d'une certaine manière et puis de se divertir un peu comme tout le monde, quoi.
Ah, bonjour.
Bonjour, ça va?
Très bien.
Bien.
J'ai rendez-vous
Très bien.
là,
Ok.
à 3h30.
For the past 15 years, Vong has travelled the world meeting with exiled Hmong communities. His father fought against the French and then the Americans. He's now fighting to protect the past.
Donc, je voulais savoir, est-ce que vous connaissez les Hmong? L'histoire des Hmong ou... oui, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5...
This afternoon, he's visiting a secondary school class at the St. Paul College in Cacao. Hmong culture is an oral tradition, and as older people disappear, their history goes with them.
Donc, pendant la guerre de Chine, les Hmong ont combattu avec la France, ont choisi la France, et nos aïeux, nos parents, ils ont donné leur vie, ils se sont sacrifiés pour vous.
Alors c'est important parce que ces histoires-là, c'est sur nos aïeux, nos parents, nos pères, qui ont donné leur vie. Et ça, c'est important de leur dire qu'ils ont donné leur vie, leur sacrifice pendant cette guerre-là. Il faut transmettre. Le devoir de mémoire est très important. Leur sacrifice mérite ça.
On est citoyens français comme tout le monde, on a nos droits, et c'est important, parce que nous sommes des enfants de la République, tout simplement. Voilà.
In Cacao, a group of Hmong had never received French nationality. Thinking they might return one day, some never got round to it, and others simply forgot.
Au début, l'idée n'était pas venue, parce qu'il fallait survivre. Maintenant qu'ils sont mieux établis et ils ont une meilleure condition de vie, ils souhaiteraient avoir la nationalité française parce qu'il y a un lien par rapport à la fraternité d'âme en Indochine et aussi la culture française.
Vong has a meeting with one of them. Noa Sigong was among the first to arrive in Guyana 43 years ago. However, he's always been considered by his adopted country as a refugee. Up until the present, all his demands have been rejected. The reason given by the prefecture is always the same: his failure to grasp the French language.
C'est pas normal qu'ils sont toujours des réfugiés. Donc il faut qu'ils obtiennent la nationalité française pour être citoyens français et pour pouvoir voter pour les présidents et tout, les maires et tout.
In 2009, more than half a century after the end of the Indochina War, France allowed this memorial to be built for the Hmongs who'd fought with the French forces. Moise Moi Song Phong is the last fighter of this war still alive in Cacao. At almost 100 years old, he's one of the only Hmongs to be decorated with the French Légion d'honneur.
Quand j'étais jeune, je savais même pas que mon grand-père il a servi pour l'armée française. Et enfin, c'était vraiment vers mes 18 ans que j'ai vraiment pris je me suis rendu compte de l'importance de son histoire. Et aujourd'hui, je suis très, très heureux et très fier de mon grand-père.
For Joseph and his family, it's a big day. They're celebrating the spirits of their ancestors. A song played on the Ken, traditional mouthpipes, accompanies their rites and offerings. For the events, the family has brought along a zebu. This animal will be sacrificed to honor the spirits, with its meat shared among everybody.
C'est pour les ancêtres, pour juste demander de venir bénir la famille, tout ça.
The Hmong have been animists for centuries. They believe that all things, beings, elements and objects all have their own soul. These rituals, their mechanics and their meanings are passed through watching them. But most Hmong families in French Guiana have turned to other religions, sometimes encouraged by missionaries, sometimes simply out of fear of doing something wrong. In Cacao, just 1 person in 10 has kept hold of their animist traditions.
C'est quelque chose qui est à nous, et comme on dit, nous, la nouvelle génération de maintenant, il y a très peu de jeunes qui apprennent ça. Donc après, il ne faut pas que ça se perde non plus, parce que c'est quelque chose qui nous appartient à nous.
You really think it could be lost?
Oui, ça peut se perdre. Ça commence déjà à se perdre. Donc après, si nous, les jeunes, on ne s'y met pas, donc ça va vraiment partir, en fait.
This evening, Joseph and his people will commemorate the names of their ancestors until late at night. A few days later, Claire's efforts have paid off. Her list won after just 1 round of voting in the municipal elections. In the years to come, the Hmongs of Cacao, refugees that are now entwined with their adopted country, will need to find a new balance between assimilation and safety, between traditions and modern life, in order to preserve their history and their identity.
Pierre Varro revisiting Cacao for France 24. That's all from this week's edition. Don't forget, of course, you can catch it once again on our website at france24.com. Thanks for watching. More news coming up shortly.